I'm excited to make this video to share with you something I stumbled upon. I'm excited because this is going to change the way I've been packaging my freeze-dried foods. I've been preaching for quite some time that it's very, very important to remove moisture, oxygen, light, and heat from the food to make it last longer. And oxygen has always been one of the more difficult things to remove. We use oxygen absorbers and they're good, but they're not 100% all the time. But I found something else that's a game changer. So I'm going to share that with you, and I have here some sample packages. I have some raw eggs, I have shrimp and rice, I have blueberries, and scalloped potatoes. Well, these all have oxygen absorbers, and you can see that some of these packages still have a little bit of air in them here and there. They all have oxygen absorbers in there. And I've been trying to come up with different ways to vacuum pack food, because if you can vacuum pack food with an oxygen absorber, you can remove more air away from the food to keep the food from going rancid or oxidizing or having it be spoiled. And for quite some time I've been trying to find a way to build a chamber that can vacuum pack, because right now if I want to vacuum pack food, I have to wait for my freeze dryer to finish and then de-ice it, take the shelf out, put the bags in, and then run it. But I got something that is just absolutely amazing. I was doing some research on how to build a vacuum chamber to vacuum pack my food, and I stumbled upon something that is absolutely wonderful. So what I'm going to do, we're going to prepare these bags to be vacuum packed, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So the first thing, I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut the corner out to make a vent hole. I've made lots of videos on this, and if you need to know how to do it, just refer to one of those videos. Okay, so just as a review, here's a manufactured seam, here's my sealed seam, and where they have an intersection, I just cut a diagonal line across it just to make the tiniest little hole right here that will allow the air in here to escape. I picked up this vacuum chamber. This is not a cooking pot, but this is a vacuum chamber, and it's very well made out of stainless steel. And the reason I picked this particular model is because of its size. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put my shrimp and rice in here. Now I can either put them almost upright, but I'm going to go ahead and lay these down on the side. Shrimp and rice, I got my blueberries, and I have my raw eggs, and I have my scalloped potatoes. So they're all going to go into the pot, and this is the lid, and the lid is actually made out of glass, 1/2 inch thick glass, and it just sits right on top. And we're going to center that. We're going to close this little valve right here. And this is the old pump. You can't see it really right now, but this is my old pump I got with my Harvest Right freeze dryer. This is the good old standard pump. I now have a premium pump, so I happen to have an extra pump. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. And I do have a gauge right here. Now this gauge is for inches of mercury, but we're just going to run it down to about 25 inches, which is just going to take just a second or two. And we're almost there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the pump. I'm going to go open this valve. And the magic happens so much faster than using the Harvest Right freeze dryer. I'm going to pull these out, holding the corners. But take a look at that. Isn't that great? Look how that has just been sucked in. Well, I'm going to go take these back into the kitchen and seal them up. So this is what they look like afterwards. So here's my raw eggs, and you can just see, I mean, it's just been sucked out. All the air is just really is gone. Here's my shrimp and rice, my blueberries, and this scrunchy little thing is my scalloped potatoes. Now, there is a drawback with vacuum sealing or vacuum packing. If this was asparagus, if I had asparagus in here, it'd probably crush the asparagus. And so whatever you're going to pack by using vacuum sealing, it's going to be fragile. You got to be careful. And if it has sharp edges, well, then you want to make sure you get a bag that's going to be good enough to take and handle sharp edges. And that's why I did one video on the ASTM puncher test on which bags can resist punchers better than other bags. But anyway, this is a game changer for me, because no longer do I have to wait for my freeze dryer to defrost, to slide the shelf out, to put these back in, or have to cut things into half-gallon bags to put them into the shelves of the freeze dryer. And this was done in seconds. This was really quick, and I am just excited about this. So we're going to go back out to the garage, and I'm going to show you some more details about the piece of equipment, about the vacuum chamber, and then I'll show you online many of the options that you can get if you want to buy your own vacuum chamber, and they're not as expensive as you think they may be. They're actually quite cheap. Like I said, I'm really impressed with the construction of this pot. I mean, it's nice and heavy, and there was no deflection when I was running this, and the simplicity behind it is amazing. So the lid here is nothing more than a really heavy piece of glass, half-inch glass, and it has this soft rubber seal going all the way around it that seals between the lid and the pot underneath. Now, the only drawback, when I did get this, this comes with an oil-filled gauge, and during shipment, some of this oil seeped out of the gauge and kind of coated everything with oil, but that was not a big deal. I just cleaned everything up. And it comes with a couple of valves, and like what I said, there's my good old standard vacuum pump that I had with my first purchase from Harvest-Right. So some modifications that you'll have to do if you go this route. The fittings that you normally get to attach the hose to your vacuum pump, they're actually HVAC fittings. So what I had to do, I had to go to a hardware store and get this brass adapter, which is a half-inch female pipe thread, and this right up here is a half-inch nipple. So if you're looking for a part, this would be basically half-inch female pipe threads by half-inch nipple. I think it cost me $2. It just has a standard worm clamp to hold the hose into place, and same thing here, half-inch hose with a hose clamp holding it onto here. So it has a little bit of an exhaust muffler to keep things quiet. When we're charging it up, we just have to close this valve and charge it up. Once you reach vacuum, if you want to keep a vacuum on it, well, then we can close this valve and keep the vacuum in the chamber. Then once this valve right here is opened up, it releases the vacuum. You can hear the hissing sounds, and away it goes. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and demonstrate this one more time. They do say that when you put this lid on, you want to make sure that the lid is centered on the chamber, which it is. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on the pump. We're going to close this valve, and you can see that it's climbing up to probably about 25 inches of mercury. Now this is different. 25 inches of mercury is different from millitor. Millitor is the metric measurement, and inches of mercury is the English measurement. So now if I wanted to keep the pressure in here, I can go ahead and close this valve, come off here and turn off the pump. And so right now it's holding pressure. if I had my food in there, they'd be swelling up a little bit. And then you can just go ahead and open this valve. And vent the vacuum out. And that's it. Pretty simple thing. This thing will just lift right off. So this is, to me, this is a total game changer on vacuum packing my freeze-dried food. So we're going to go to the web, and I'm going to show you some places where you can purchase one if you're at all interested. This is the vacuum chamber that I purchased, and I'm on Amazon right now, and I see it's currently unavailable, but there are many others you can choose from. The one I picked was a 5-gallon chamber that was large enough and tall enough to hold 4 of the 1-gallon food storage bags. But if you scroll down just a little bit, you can see these other vacuum chambers. Here's another 5-gallon for $135. Here's a 5-gallon for $199, and it comes with a vacuum pump if you don't have an extra one. But if you just kind of search the web under vacuum chambers, you'll find all sorts of opportunities and offers. Just try to get something that's tall enough to hold the bag inside, and I believe the one I have is actually 12 inches tall, so that's probably the measurement you need to look for. But they are available, and they're really not that expensive. Now, what about our friends who like to put their food in jars? Not a problem. So with good old one quart jars, I'm able to put 6 of these inside the chamber if they're standing up. I can put an additional 2 inside, and that's a 1 quart. If it's the half-quart jars, you can put many inside. You can actually even put the really big half-gallon quart jars inside, standing up. So we're going to see how well this vacuum chamber does with canning jars. So we're going to put this on, keep it just a little bit loose, put it inside, top, center the lid, turn on the pump, close the valve. Turn off the pump, release the air, and we'll go inside and see how much vacuum we got on this thing. How's that for a vacuum? This is almost an absolute vacuum in this jar. We only lost just maybe a ½ an inch, and that was only a matter of seconds with running that vacuum pump. So that vacuum chamber not only can be beneficial for freeze dryers packing in Mylar, but if you pack in jars, this can also be very, very beneficial. And just imagine if you use this with an oxygen absorber, how much more atmosphere and how much more oxygen you'll be able to get out of your food.